So recently, Chris Como posted about some of the progress himself and Jason Day have been making over the past year or so. One of the standout differences was when Jason Day got halfway down, so position 5, the pitch of the shaft was much shallower at this point in the swing. So we're just going to have a look in this video at why a player might want to go down this journey of shallowing the shaft in the downswing and what problems we might see show up at impact if the shaft is in a steeper position halfway down. We'll then look at a couple of pieces you can begin checking out in your own swing if that's something you want to start working on. Okay, so 3 reasons why a player might look to start improving how the shaft is pitching and get that shaft moving more shallow in the downswing. The first would be it's impacting their strike location, both horizontal on the face and vertical. So when the shaft gets into a steeper position halfway down, it's very difficult for us to maintain our posture without the path moving excessively too far to the left. So one thing that we can do is we can start coming out of our posture, our dynamic posture through the ball. That can often get the hands too high. We can start hitting it on the toe. And we can also start hitting it slightly thin or heavy. So strike location would be one of them. The second would be what I kind of just touched on there, would be the club path. So if the shaft is sitting a little bit too steep at that halfway down position and the player wants to hit a draw, for example, they'll have to do so by having excessive tilting of their upper body in order to get that club to shallow later. So that would look like from face on, from a steeper position, we'd have to introduce this side tilt. Now that can move the path to the right, but in doing so, we sacrifice our low point control. Often we'll hit the ground before the ball, so we lose that strike. And the third would be managing the face and path relationship. So again, if a player is in a steeper position, most of the time they won't be able to rotate and maintain their posture. So they have to come up and out of their posture through the ball. And that means we're lacking rotation through the ball. And if we lack rotation, oftentimes rotation can be added through the club face. So if we're lacking rotation through the body, often we're going to see more rotation happen through the club face, and that can just make managing that path and face relationship a little bit more difficult. So there'd be 3 reasons why you might look to begin changing and improving this characteristic in your golf swing. So the swing on the left here was from about a year ago. Chris Como posted it, and the swing on the right is the most recent one. So we're just going to go through this and highlight a couple of the pieces that have changed. So the first one, if we take it to position 3, where the lead arm is parallel to the ground in the backswing, we'll take them both there. So one of the biggest differences you'll see is there's a little bit more depth of the hands being created here on this swing on the right. So by depth, I mean if I was to draw a line from the butt end of the club down to the ground, you're going to see the swing on the right is a little bit closer to the toe line. But it's important to note here that the hands are going deeper. So deeper would be the hands working more this way. But it's not happening by just the lead arm being pulled across the chest, which would be lead arm adduction. It's happening by increased rates of rotation through the torso and the pelvis. That's what creates a little bit more depth to the top of the backswing. And then the big point now is if we take him down to position 5, so that's where the lead arm gets back to parallel to the ground in the downswing. We'll take them both down to here, and this is where you'll see most of the difference taking place. So if we have a look at both of the pitch of the shaft on both of these. So we'll take a look at the older swing here first of all. So if I draw a line just straight down the shaft here, it's a little bit inside the ball. Okay, just inside the ball. And then on this newer P5 position, it's slightly outside the ball. So the pitch of the shaft here on the right side, this would be more a shallower plane as we're coming down rather than a slightly steeper plane on the left. So there are the main differences we can see here when it comes to the older and the newer swing and how that shaft pitch has become more shallow in the downswing. So I hope that swing analysis there gave you some good clarity on what that would look like in the golf swing. If you think that's something that you need to work on, here's just 2 things that I'd start looking at. First would be the rates of your turn through the torso and the pelvis up to the top of the backswing. So as we said, to create the depth in the backswing, we create that through rotation of the torso and the pelvis. That's what gets the hands in a deep enough position where we can get that club shallowing in the way down without excessive manipulation to the shaft pitch in the way down. So check out have you got enough rotation through your torso, through your pelvis? Are your knees changing flex? So we can create enough depth to the top of the swing to make things easier on the way down. And the second would be check your club face. If you go to the top of the swing and you notice that the toe of your club is pointing down to the ground excessively, that's going to encourage you to get this shaft moving out steeper in order to try and create a functional ball flight. So really, really important when you get up to the top of that swing, we want to see that club face more or less matching your lead wrist, or it could be even slightly close to that. That will encourage a slightly shallower pitch of the shaft and help you manage those impact factors through the ball. So making sure we have the pivot organized to the top, making sure the club face is organized, and that would be the first two checkpoints I'd look at if you want to incorporate more of this shallowing of the shaft in the downswing. Okay guys, so I hope that gave you an idea of what shallowing the shaft might do in the swing and how it will affect our impact conditions. Why Jason Day and Chris Como went down this route, I'm not sure of, because unless we get Chris Como and Jason Day on the phone, they're the only people that are going to be able to provide the proper context to that move. But I've been lucky enough to help players introduce that characteristic into their swing through the online academy, and it has improved those impact factors that we talked about: strike location, managing the path and face. I know Jason Day has suffered with some back pain in the past, so it could be in an effort to increase rotation, reduce that side tilt through the ball. Could be that, or could be in relation to managing that path and face better. Until we get those guys on the phone, we do not know. But I hope this video has helped. And if you're curious about anything in the video, don't hesitate to reach out. Through the online academy, you can send your swing in straight from your phone, and we can get an in-depth look at your golf swing and start getting the drills that you need put together to make your practice effective and make real changes to the ball flight.